Hello, everybody. Welcome to the movie show. My name is Tyler Calkins, and today we're going to be talking about The Joker. Full warning, we're going to have full spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you check out. Let's dive in, and whoof, this movie pulls no punches. This movie sets the tone right out of the gate. And what I mean by that is right from the title card, you get a sense of what this movie's trying to be and what it's trying to go for. The cinematography, the directing, Todd Phillips did a killer job with this film. The movie felt as if you were watching a horror film from the perspective of the killer. It reminded me a lot of Silence of the Lambs, as if you were watching it from Hannibal Lecter's perspective or Buffalo Bill's perspective. It was terrifying, it was brutal, it was vicious, it was mean. I figure the best way to break this down would be by scenes. My favorite scenes when he initially gets mugged at the top of the movie and he goes into work the next day and he's all bruised up and Randall hands him a gun. And I thought, don't hand Joker a gun. That's a bad idea. That's a terrible idea. And then also in that scene, and it's in the trailers as well, so you see it in the trailers, but in that scene, they make a joke of a little person who also works as a clown within that group of people. And everyone's laughing, and the Joker laughs, and it's in the trailer, and you see him like laugh, but then he goes stone face. And the reason that he does that is because he's not really happy to laugh at the little person. He's just doing it to fit in. And I think that's so much like society, isn't it? Where, you know, I don't want to be bullied, so I'm going to laugh at the person being bullied because I don't want to be the next one to be ridiculed by the group. And that's like kind of a defense mechanism. So you see that within this movie with Arthur Fleck, and it's really, you know, it's kind of tragic. It's a tragic movie. I don't feel sympathy for him because he's a psychopath by the end of it, and he's terrible. But it's tragic. The whole thing is just tragic. Another great scene that I love is when he's riding home on the bus after after the initial mugging, after he gets mugged at work, which you see in the trailers. He's riding the bus home. And he's being nice to that kid. And he's riding the bus home and he's trying to be nice to that kid. And the mom turns around and she's like, "Stop messing with my kid." And Joker starts uncontrollably laughing at that point, which is what you don't see in the trailers. And the mom's like, "Why are you laughing? What's so funny?" And he hands her a card that says, "I have a condition and I laugh uncontrollably at times." And it's just tragic because he's trying to get through his day. He just had like a garbage crap day. And he's just, okay, I'll be nice to this kid. Maybe that'll make my day a little better. And he just gets garbage from the world. This whole movie is just him getting garbage from the world. And it's just awful. Another great scene is when he's on the subway. He was just in the children's hospital. He drops the gun. He gets fired from his job. He's on the subway. And those three Wall Street dudes are, messing with that girl. And she's not interested. And he starts laughing uncontrollably. And you see it, he's trying to like stop himself. He doesn't want to do it. And the dudes are like, "What's so funny? What's so funny?" And the girl gets up and she goes to leave, and again, Joaquin's performance is phenomenal in this movie because she goes to leave and he looks at her like, "Oh, please don't go. Please don't go. I need you to stay here because they're going to be awful." And you can see it in his face. Like you could see like he didn't want to deal with how awful they were about to be. And then of course they were, right? So he comes over and he gets a punch. He turns around and he shoots them all. First off, I feel like a lot of the controversy with this movie is a thought that it's glorifying the killing of those people. And I don't really think that's the case. These are people who otherwise are asshole people. The Joker's still a murderous scumbag. It doesn't change that. But at the same time, he was getting mugged. I don't feel terrible. If you're asking, I don't have a lot of huge sympathy for three otherwise scumbaggy dudes who are in the middle of mugging the Joker getting shot. I guess that's where my line is. I don't feel bad for those characters because they're awful people, and that's the point of the script. I mean, say what you want about that, but he's getting mugged and he shoots three guys. I don't feel bad for them. I don't. He goes along, and after he shoots those guys, and the one's running away, he's real vicious about the one. Then he goes into the bathroom, and he's like dancing, right? He's dancing. And I feel like in that moment, it's when he's finally free. It's when he first kills that he finally becomes free with himself, right? Is what's happening in the film. It's him being free from that person from before, and then now he's the Joker. And you see it in the next scene later when after he's fired from the job, he goes and clears out his locker and he's leaving and he's descending down the stairs and he crosses out the sign, that says don't forget to smile. And instead he crosses out the sign so it just says don't smile. And he descends down the stairs into hell, kicks the door open, and it's sunshine. And he's Joker. Really great film. Really, I mean, just Todd Phillips did an amazing job with the direction of the film and just what he was doing with it. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful movie. It's an awful movie, but it's a wonderful movie. Another scene that's great is when he reads the letter that his mother's writing to Thomas Wayne, and she talks about Arthur being Thomas's son. And you're like, whoa, Batman and Joker are brothers in this story, I guess, is what they're going with, which is crazy. And Thomas Wayne is Joker's father. The thing that's so tough is you don't know which one is true. Here's the thing, too, is that Thomas says that it's not the case, that she's a liar. And she says she signed a non-disclosure agreement. Thomas Wayne is a very powerful person. You don't know who to believe in this instance, in whether or not she really got pregnant and then he made her sign an NDA not to talk about it. And then, he made papers drawn up to say it was an adoption is what she was saying. And he was saying she was a lunatic and really just did adopt it. And by the end, you don't really know what's true or what's not in that sense. But at the same time, it kind of doesn't really matter because ultimately the damage is done to the person, who is Arthur Fleck. Speaking of Thomas Wayne, he did have the character in the movie had this really great line, an awful line though, which spoke to his character. It goes, "Gotham's lost its way. What kind of coward does something this cold-blooded? Someone who hides behind a mask." And I think that's just so funny because it speaks to the ignorance of that position, if you will, for his character, because ultimately, one, the dude who did the killings, Joker, Arthur Fleck, wasn't wearing a mask. He was wearing clown makeup, so he didn't have a mask. And in addition, later on, his son, Batman, Bruce Wayne, is going to end up wearing a mask, and the reason he does that is to protect the people he loves, which would feasibly be people like Thomas Wayne had he lived. I was also very shocked that they did another scene with Thomas and Martha Wayne being shot in an alley. Are people going to be mad about that? I don't know. I wasn't that mad about it. I don't care. But I see where people get annoyed with it, so I wonder where everyone's going to fall. I also love when Arthur goes to the Charlie Chaplin event and there's all this chaos going on outside and the protesters start fighting with the police. And the Joker just kind of slips in underneath. And I feel like that was just amazing visual direction from Todd Phillips, where if chaos is going around outside, then it's easy for danger to slip in under the rug. That's kind of, I feel like, what was visually going on, because after that scene is where it parlayed into Joker, confronting Thomas Wayne in the bathroom about him being his father. This was after Joker saw Bruce Wayne at Thomas's house, and Joker put his fingers in Bruce's mouth. And Bruce, if a stranger's coming to your house, don't let them put their fingers in your mouth. That's gross. That's really disgusting. Little Bruce, don't do that. Anyway, they meet up in the bathroom, and it's this wonderful scene where it's a wonderful, awful scene. So much of this movie is a wonderful, awful scene. But it's the scene where Thomas and Arthur meet up, and, he's like, you're my father. And he's like, dude, I'm not your father. Your mother is this crazy psycho. And you don't know whether to believe him. He's trying to be a politician. He's trying to be a mayor, so I don't believe him. But his mother seems crazy enough, so you're not sure what it is and whether or not Thomas is right or Penny is right. Joker has some great lines in that bathroom, and he has this great scene where he freaks out. Joaquin has so many great scenes within this movie, and it's really Joaquin's movie. We'll get to that a little bit later. Some of the best lines within that bathroom is Joker freaks out and he goes, "I don't know why everybody is so rude. I don't know why you are. I don't want anything from you. Maybe a little warmth, maybe a hug. How much is a little bit of decency?" And it's really kind of heartbreaking because he's never really, I'm sure, had a father. And it sounds like from earlier in the film, the only fatherhood he had was getting the crap beat out of him by some stepfather. What's tragic about the whole thing is like he just does want a little bit of warmth, and society just won't give it to him. Society won't let him have anything except just kicking him around. This was one of my favorite scenes throughout the whole movie, is when he gets the file on his mother and he goes back to Sophie's house, played by Zazie Beetz, who does a wonderful job. So he goes back to her apartment, and they had these scenes earlier in the movie where, they met on the elevator, they go out on this date. He goes out to the comedy club to see him when he bombs. And then when he gets the file and he goes back to her apartment after he finds out his mother was in the psychiatric hospital, Sophie's all like, oh my God, what are you doing here? And that's when he realizes, and they show little flashbacks to it, you realize it was all just a fantasy within Arthur's head. And then if they don't show it, but he kills her and her daughter. Again, this movie is just violent and brutal. It's not going to be a cup of tea for everybody, but I get what it was trying to say. And the way that it was trying to say it, it's brutal and it's in your face. Another scene that I really love is when Randall and Gary, who were former clown co-workers of the Joker that he used to work with, I like it when they come over to visit him after he'd been fired to like check on him, because they're like, oh, we're getting a lot of questions from the police about those 3 people who were killed on that subway, the people that the Joker shot. And they're asking him about, oh, how's your life? And, how's everything going? We heard your mom died. We're checking on you. And he's like, it's good. I'm celebrating. And it's like quintessential Joker. And there's a build up to it, and then Joker stabs Randall in the throat, because Randall's like a disingenuous guy. Randall earlier in the film gave him the gun, but then told his boss that he was trying to buy it from him, and then he was trying to act like, oh, how tragic that you got fired in front of all the other clown coworkers, when Joker knew that he had lied to his boss when his boss had told him that Randall had said that you tried to buy a gun from him when really Randall gave it to him. Randall was a super disingenuous guy, and when he gets stabbed in the throat with that pair of scissors, it's brutal, it's violent. He gets his head rammed into a wall until he's dead. There was audible gasp within the audience that I was with. That's Randall who gets killed, and then Gary, who's the little person from earlier in the movie, is obviously horrified by this work that Joker does, and Joker's like, oh hey, did you know I'm going to be on the Ed Murray show later? Or, I'm sorry, the Murray Franklin show later? And he's like, okay, whatever. Like, you just murdered a guy. What are you talking about? And again, it's the madness of Joaquin Phoenix's performance that's like really wild. What happens next is that Greg's getting ready to leave the apartment, right? Because Joker has this great line where he's like, it's okay, you can go. I'm not going to kill you. And you don't know if he's not going to kill him or not, because he's the Joker. This performance is really all built up on, you don't know what he's going to do. You don't know whether or not he's going to slice your face off and murder you or not. It's crazy. And what happens next is that Gary goes to leave, and Gary can't reach the lock on the door. Oh, before he even goes to the door, Gary's walking towards Joker, and that's after Joker kills Randy. And Gary's walking toward him, and he's like, bah, and he scares him, and it's like this crazy scene where Joker's trying to be funny, but like, you just murdered a guy, and it shows you the madness of the character. Gary's getting to the door, he can't quite reach it, so he has to have Joker open the door and unlock it, and Joker just says to him, you were always nice to me. And it really kind of explains why he didn't get killed there. It's really kind of a thesis statement of this movie. My favorite scene in the entire movie is when Joaquin gets invited to the Murray Franklin show, and he goes out, he gets introduced. Murray Franklin makes a joke at his expense again, playing the video of him bombing at the comedy club. And Joker's having a cigarette, and he's having this dance in the back. And he did that dance earlier in the movie when he was, he became the Joker. And he's doing the dance again because it's what he does as Joker. He does this dance, and he gets into a feel for it. Again, more of Joaquin's performance just being fantastic. And before he goes there, he's practicing his intro and what he's going to do. And the whole time he's practicing as if he's going to shoot himself. And there's this great thing where like he kind of leans, he pretends like he shot himself, and he hears in his head the applause of the crowd, and he leans his head back and he smirks. And it's quintessential Joker. The chaos of, oh, the audience is going to love me blowing my brains out. Then he emerges from his apartment in full Joker regalia, if you will. And he's going down those stairs. And again, it was these stairs that he ascended up earlier in the film, where he ascended into the sky of nothing and the blueness of nothing. And in this, he was descending to Gary Glitter's something, Stadium Anthem, something like that. And he was just, he's feeling himself, and you can tell he's hearing the music in his head. And I love, the movie didn't glorify it because it still brought it back to the creepy kind of horror score that had been played throughout the entire film. And it really it really said, that this guy is crazy, and he needed help and he didn't get any, and now he's crazier. Now it's a real problem. So he goes to the Franklin Murray show and he gets introduced and he goes and sits down and he confesses that he killed those three officers. And people are weird at first, and then they realize he's serious, and it's the best scene within the movie, and it's the best acted scene within the movie because Joaquin is just on fire throughout the whole thing. And there's these great lines in there. Everybody is awful these days. It's enough to make everybody crazy. And he goes, this guy's been beaten down so much, and he goes, why is everyone so upset about these guys? If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me. I pass you every day and you don't notice me. And that's his problem, right? He just wants a little respect, I guess, from the world. He just wants a little bit of consideration. Everybody's kicked him around and told him he's garbage his entire life. Even after Joker tells them, all of these things like nobody's ever noticed me. Even after he shoots Franklin Murray, the story is still Franklin Murray shot on TV, not the story of this guy could have really used some help and maybe we should use it as a cautionary tale. Instead, it's like, let's run with the sensationalist thing. Really brilliant stuff on Todd Phillips' part within the film. That's so much like what we're dealing with today. They take the story and they sensationalize what wanted to be, the exciting, juicy kind of part of it, but then really didn't cover any of like, hey, this guy was really reaching out for help. And he was talking about reaching out for help, and nobody helped him. Joaquin's performance throughout this movie is really something to behold, and I really understand why he's getting a bunch of Oscar talk about it. When he finds out his mother was crazy and was in the mental hospital, and he's just like, he's laughing, but he's crying, he's got boogers coming out of his nose. Like, Joaquin's performance is like so fire throughout this entire movie. As far as nods to other Jokers, I felt like there was some nods within it to other Jokers. Obviously this performance is trying to be its own thing. But I felt like there was nods to the Nicholson Joker in the way that the costume was. I feel like the costume was very Nicholson. And then there was also a moment within the film that was very reminiscent of Nicholson when he crosses out that I was talking about earlier, when he crosses out the sign that says, don't forget to smile, to just say, don't smile. And it reminded me a lot of the Joker graffitiing, artwork essentially. And then the whole performance, just because it's taken so seriously, does give you vibes of Heath Ledger, and not in a disrespectful copycat kind of way. This performance is very much a villain up to the top of their game kind of performance. Not campy, but like just terrifying. Almost in a way of like Hannibal Lecter. And I felt like Heath Ledger's performance in The Dark Knight as the Joker rivaled Hannibal Lecter. Specifically, there's a scene where Joker shoots Murray at the Murray taping, which is obviously the big scene within the movie. And after that, he looks into the camera and tries to do Murray's fade out, and it definitely reminds you of Heath Ledger's Joker, talking into the camera from The Dark Knight. And then another scene that reminds you of Heath Ledger's Joker is when Joaquin is riding in the back of the cop car. I felt like that was a super homage to Heath Ledger. But again, Jokers are all going to sometimes ride in the back of the cop car because it's a Joker and he's going to kill people. So that's how it goes as well. I didn't feel like there was any nods to Jared Leto's Joker. I'm sure people out there are going to be able to find what they feel are like nods to the Joker. But I didn't see any in there, and I was definitely trying to look. If you want to say a nod to Mark Hamill's Joker, maybe in the laugh a little bit. But again, this performance is very much Joaquin Phoenix doing his version of a Joker. Again, but barely even that, because it's just Joaquin being this character, Arthur Fleck, who then happens to become the Joker. Ultimately, it's a movie that holds a mirror to society and says, keep it up and see what happens next and see what we create next. And there's a line in the big scene at the end of the movie when Joker is at the Murray Franklin show, and he says to him, what do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? I'll tell you what you get. You get what you deserve. And then he shoots Franklin Murray in the face, or Murray Franklin. I would keep messing up. He shoots Murray Franklin in the face. So I feel like this whole movie is basically that statement in a nutshell. Abandon people and treat them like garbage and see what happens in society. And it's a cautionary tale. It's not a glorification of violent culture by any stretch. It seems like it's really a cautionary tale. There's this scene at the end of the film where, everybody is swarming Joker on top of this cop car. And again, he's doing his dance because he's got his audience now. Wanted to be the stand-up comedian. Now he has this audience. And it's not a glorification of a madman. It plays out like a horror show. It's not glorified. It's a warning shot. Honestly, it was horrifying. I think people are going to think that it crosses the line. I personally don't think it does. I think movies are functions of the real world that we live in. Ultimately, I did really enjoy the movie. It's incredibly dark. It's incredibly brutal. It's not a feel-good film of the year. Is it going to get a Best Picture nomination? It seems like it's going to, which is pretty crazy. Same with Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker performance, and I think he deserves that. I think he certainly deserves a nomination. This movie is brutal, and it's a gut punch, and it's a warning shot to society. Treat people terribly like terrible human beings, and you're going to get terrible results from them, and you're going to create monsters in society. A big theme throughout the film really is like just empathy and like be better to one another, or don't, but do it at your own possible peril. Not that those people are right. Nobody should be a murderous psychopath, obviously, but people who have mental illness, if they're kicked down, if they're not provided medical services, the ones that are possibly violent could cause violent acts. It's a cautionary tale about being awful to people, and then those people getting pushed over the edge. Ultimately, amazing movie. I really enjoyed it. I think people should go see it because I think it's the quintessential movie for right now. I think it speaks to what today is. Ultimately, you'll walk away kind of changed from it because it's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. What did you think of Joker? What were some of your favorite scenes? What were some of the things that you didn't like? Did you think it went too far? Did it push the envelope in ways that maybe it shouldn't? I don't think it did, but some people are definitely going to. Comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe. Lots of more videos to come soon. I'm excited about this venture. The movie show. Don't forget it. I'm Tyler Calkins, your host. I'm going to see you again real soon.